The Other Guys, starring Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Samuel L. Jackson, directed by Adam McKay, is one of the most slept on buddy cop movies that I think ever existed. This movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's funny how I saw it because it was never an intention of mine to see it. One of my friends graduated 8th grade and there was a celebration, so his cousin wanted to take him to the movies, and because I was his best friend, I went with him. And I had no idea what this movie was. I don't even think they told me what the movie we were gonna see was. I did know that it was supposed to be a comedy. I knew it was supposed to be something funny, because I remember when I sat there and the first 10 minutes of the movie plays out like a action movie, and I was like, what the heck is this? We supposed to be saying a comedy, but turns out it was like the beginning of them spoofing on action movies. It was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Samuel L. Jackson playing these two officers who were the it guys. They were the best of the best, and they were doing their thing. And one of the things that I love about this movie is the fact that the more you watch it, the more you see jokes that you didn't pick up the first couple of times. This movie is joke after joke, and I think that Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg are really good together. The reason I wanted to talk about this movie today is because it's one that I've held near and dear. I have the DVD. I no longer have a DVD player. I gotta get one of those because I want to start a physical collection of movies that I like. And I've started to accumulate movies on YouTube that I like, but I really want to have that physical copy of these movies, kind of just to have it up, like if you can imagine a shelf and just movies going across or what have you. That's the type of vibe that I want to go for, because I just really love movies. But I wanted to talk about this movie in particular because I don't hear a lot of people talking about this movie, and I don't even know if a lot of people have seen this movie. I know me and my cousin have jokes about it, and I got a couple friends that I've talked about it with who've seen it, but overall, nobody talks about this movie. I don't see memes, and I don't really understand why. It's not a traditional buddy cop movie, I have to say, because if you want to compare it to a movie like Rush Hour, it's almost night and day, because Rush Hour was more of a serious approach, and it's like if you think of a Lethal Weapon, like when you think of those movies, there's a real situation and it's situational comedy throughout the movies. Well, The Other Guys is just almost a spoof. I'm pretty sure it is classified as a spoof of the buddy cop genre. And so that made it really unique to me. There's a lot of buddy cop movies that are considered classics that I haven't seen. So when I think of buddy cop movies, I'm mostly thinking of like Rush Hour. Well, crap, I can't really think of any others right now, but it doesn't even have to be a buddy cop movie. There are plenty of movies that follow the same formula. Two people from different worlds and different personalities have to come together for a common goal. That's the gist of the buddy cop movie. But anyway, this movie kind of spins it on its head because it's a spoof. So instead of it being grounded in reality, it's just absurd mayhem, and that allows for some really funny movies. Michael Keaton is in this movie as well. If you don't know who Michael Keaton is, he is the guy who originally played Batman in the Tim Burton adaptations, the Batman and then the Batman Returns or whatever. He's the guy from Beetlejuice. But I never watched Beetlejuice. I should watch Beetlejuice. I know that's a classic. I'm gonna watch Beetlejuice and I'm gonna review it. How you guys feel about that? I digress. So he's been in a lot of stuff. I didn't see him in that movie, so I never saw him in a comedic light. Maybe I only noticed him from the Batman movies. But anyway, he's really funny in this movie. He has this bit where throughout the movie, he is constantly referencing TLC to Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell, but he's acting like he doesn't know that he's referencing the songs.
Do me a favor, don't go chasing waterfalls.
Was that accidental, or were you trying to quote TLC on purpose?
I don't even understand the reference.
So they'll be talking and he'll be like,
You got a creep. Creep.
Come on.
And they're like, come on, dude. Nobody says creep, creep unless they're referencing TLC. And he's just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't understand what you said?
I don't know what that is. Get out.
And then another funny thing about it is the fact that not only is he the chief of the police department, he also is a manager at Bed Bath & Beyond. So during the day, he's working as a chief officer at a precinct, and during the evenings, he's a manager at a Bed Bath & Beyond. And so one job, he's talking about rapists and murderers and crime. And then the other job, he's talking about bath mats. And that's another funny joke that they have. He's at his Bed Bath & Beyond job. And as he's giving a rundown about the new bath mats and all of the stuff that came in, he also says, oh yeah, there is a serial raper in Crown Heights, so keep an eye out for that. And then he catches himself and realizes, oh snap, I'm at the wrong job. And he says, well, don't ignore that, you know, walk in groups or whatever. So there's a lot of like silly, fun stuff here. So the plot of the movie, let's get right into it.
Well, you do us proud. Because I don't want no scrubs.
This movie kicks off with the huge action scene between The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. That's basically, in my opinion, supposed to be a spoof of the Bad Boys movies. Because if you look at those movies and you look at this movie, you can see a lot of similarities. The only difference is this movie is kind of making fun of that.
Oh! Second one this week! Hey, you monkeys!
But the plot of this movie is that this guy named David Ershon, whose profession I can't seem to remember, owes a lot of people money. And so he's hatched this idea that he's going to target a lottery and steal the money, and he's going to use that money to pay back all of these people who he has taken their money and invested it very poorly. So Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Samuel L. Jackson's characters die within the first 10 minutes of this movie because they do one of the most absurd things that I've ever seen. And this scene is probably what sold me from the jump of this movie, no pun intended, because these dudes follow criminals as they zip line down a building, and then the guys cut the cord so that they can't follow them. And these dudes look over the edge of this building, and I'm gonna try to put the clip in there. I'll probably cut it up and reverse it or whatever so that I don't get a copyright claim. But you guys gotta see this. They peer over the side of this building, and it has to be at least 6 stories. They said it in the movie. I can't think how high it was.
Wasn't even an awning in that direction.
No, I know.
Jumped 20 stories.
And these dudes look at each other, and who says it? Samuel L. Jackson looks at The Rock and he says,
You thinking what I'm thinking, partner? Aim for the bushes.
and these dudes proceed to jump off a building with nothing but concrete at the bottom. It's very interesting, the camera angle that Adam chooses during this shot, because instead of just giving us this wide shot of them jumping off of this building, he takes us over the building with them. So as more is being revealed to them, more is being revealed to us. And so I remember being in the theater watching this movie and literally getting to the edge of my seat and trying to look down because I'm like, where are the bushes that they're talking about? And so this scene lasts for about a good 6-7 seconds of them just falling, and you're looking for the bushes that aren't there. That's the joke. And these dudes smack the concrete, and that's that. They're dead. And so immediately after that, we're taken to the scene where they're at the funeral, and you got Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg talking to one another about how absurd it was for them to do that.
Wasn't even an awning in that direction.
No, I know.
Jumped 20 stories.
Doesn't make sense, does it?
And now the thing is, those 2 cops who were supposed to be the best of the best are dead. Who's gonna step up? Well, the other guys. Roll credits, right? So now the movie is Mark Wahlberg's character wants to be this big bad officer. He wants to take these spots, and Will Ferrell is his partner. But he's got to fight with Will Ferrell because Will Ferrell, what are their names? I'm gonna stop saying Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. Terry and Alan. Okay, Terry wants for them to be the next 2 IT cops, but Alan is more comfortable at his desk. He just wants to do his paperwork. He doesn't want to go out in the field for reasons that we'll find out later. It all starts off with Terry at gunpoint, forcing Alan out of the police department to go on a call for what was a drug-related incident. I can't really remember, but all I know is that when they get to the crime scene, they literally roll over a dead body. Maybe that wasn't a body, but it was a bunch of cocaine and they had like a sheet over it, but it was some blood on it, so I thought it was a body. Anyway, when they run over whatever it was they ran over, a bunch of cocaine hits the car and it's like everywhere. And then you also have brilliantly casted side characters, Damon Wayans Jr. and then Rob Riggley. He's been in a lot of movies, but for whatever reason, every movie that he's been in, he hasn't been a main character. So I will be in the same boat trying to explain who he is. But anyway, these two are brilliant in a little bit that they're given, because there's this throwaway line that's one of my favorites when it's like getting ready to transition to the next scene, and Damon Wayans Jr., whose character's name was Foss, he's got his phone out and he's like
We're taking over.
At the crime scene, LOL.
Good tweet.
Yeah,
Good tweet.
thanks.
And when I tell you I had watched this movie maybe 10 times, probably more than that, before I caught on to that line, because it's such a in the background thing, but now it's one of my favorite lines. And so that's what I mean when I say this is one of my favorite movies, and the more that you watch it, the more that you're rewarded, because you hear and you see more things that you didn't notice before. Like, for example,
Now, if you don't shut up, I will cut your ear off with a butter knife.
That's blunt. Blunt's worse than if it's sharp.
then now we get into the real core of what the movie is going to be, which is going to be Terry trying to convince Alan to step up to the plate, and Alan trying to hold on to his desk job, but they unintentionally get wrapped up in the David Ershon thing because he has this scaffolding violation.
Work on a huge case, all right? Property owner with 7 buildings under construction. He hasn't applied for a single scaffolding permit.
And because they end up with him in their police car and they're taking him to the station, this other group of people ends up running into their car and kidnapping David Ershon because, spoiler alert, these are some of the people that he owes money to. And so after that, Terry and Alan are now wrapped up in whatever David Ershon has going on. And from that, just more insane situations ensue. For example, when they take David Ershon, not only do they take him, they take Terry's and Alan's guns.
It's a wooden gun. Oh!
And they take their shoes, and they take the car. So they have to walk back to the police station. By the time they get to the police station, their feet are black. Socks have holes in it. And it also has another one of my most favorite parts of this movie is when Alan is talking to Terry. I can't remember what he said to him, but Terry just gives him this look. And then Alan is like, maybe, we need a fresh start. And Terry is like, yeah. And then Alan looks at him and he says, maybe we should call ourselves the Febreze Brothers because it's feeling so fresh. Like, it's just dumb. And I know maybe it's a guilty pleasure because I know it's just silly stuff, but these jokes are killing me. They're knocking me out. And it's funny every time. It's never gonna not be funny to me. I'm not gonna go play by play by the whole movie, but this is a really funny movie, and the interaction or the exchanges between the characters are just funny. And there's so many subtle jokes that if you're just watching it and you're trying to pay attention to the story, you're not gonna really see it the first time. For example, when they get David Ershon and he takes them to one of his secret apartments where nobody really knows about, and they want him to explain everything, and this dude sits there and he says,
I think the best way to tell the story is by starting at the end, briefly, then going back to the beginning, and then periodically returning to the end, maybe giving different characters perspectives throughout, just to give it a bit of dynamism. Otherwise, it's just sort of a linear story.
Just tell us what happened.
I saw this movie so many times before I really paid attention to that. And maybe it was because now that I've been watching more movies and paying attention to plots and different filming techniques, I now know which is not it's not rocket science. Plenty of movies do it. They start at the end and then they fill you in as they go, and they return to the beginning and return to the end, and they jump back and forth. But the fact that in this crucial moment, this dude thinks that this is the proper way to tell a story is just absurd. But it's my type of absurdity. So yeah, the other guys, I highly recommend it. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And if you watch it, let me know in the comments what you think. Did you see it before? Is it one of your favorite movies? You know, I want to know. Let's have a discussion. I think Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell really play off of each other really well. Mark Wahlberg playing the straight man, but at the same time, some of the things that he says, he's not the typical straight man, because when you think of the straight man, you think of the guy who's just reacting and responding and being, you know, pretty level-headed. And that's the character trait that he's going for. But because this is a silly movie, a lot of the times the typical straight man actions are taken to the next level, because that's the way that this character is being portrayed. And Will Ferrell, on the other hand, is being typical Will Ferrell, being loud, being random, going off on tangents. But there's this really funny bit about him being a pimp in college, and he did not know it. And the fact that he had several women that he was quote unquote protecting while they went on dates and gave him some of the money for it, the dude didn't know he was a pimp. And I would be so sad if I did this review and I didn't mention one of my all-time favorite parts of this movie, and that is when Will Ferrell's Prius gets stolen and a couple of homeless guys get in there and have an orgy, and they call themselves Dirty Mike and the Boys. Like, come on. That's just pure, insane, absurd, hilarious comedy, and I'm here for it. Those are the type of movies that I love. I have plenty of movies that I enjoy, plenty of genres that I enjoy. If I had to say what my favorite genre is, it would be romantic comedy, because I like that comedy aspect, but then I also like the romance stuff. Like, don't judge me. That's just, you know, I don't know. That's who I am. But comedy has a really strong place in my heart, and absurd comedy will always have a special place in my heart, a very special place in my heart, because that's the type of person that I am. And I think maybe I relate to that because I'm random. Like, ask anybody that I know, I'll do or say the most random thing. Like, you'll never see it coming. And so when I see characters like that, I'm drawn to them naturally. And when I see movies that are based in like silly, you know, concepts, I'm here for it, because I can just turn my brain off and I can laugh, and I don't, you know, have to feel like I'm thinking too hard. But anyway, I know that this video was all over the place. I really just wanted to sit here and talk about the other guys, because my main point of this video, if there's any, is that this movie is slept on, and if you haven't seen it, I recommend that you see it. Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell, Eva Mendes, Michael Keaton, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Samuel L. Jackson, all come together to make one of my all-time favorite movies, and you will enjoy it too, I'm sure, if you like silly comedy stuff. Anyway, if you like this video, hit that like button for me. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, share it on various social media platforms.
Why? Ain't too proud to beg.
I'm gonna spin out of here. I pointed the wrong way. Spin out of here.